Welcome back, guys. Today's movie is a drama thriller from 2021 titled Red Dot. Spoilers ahead. The movie begins by showing a man with blood on his face stating it was not her fault, followed by a lady on the run with blood stains on her body. The next scene shows a graduation ceremony, and David Daftander, the protagonist, is called to the stage, and his girlfriend Nadia cheers him up. After the ceremony, they sit for a drink, and David thanks Nadia for traveling down and waiting for him. She asks if he is okay with the idea of moving to Stockholm with her, and he says yes. He then tells her to excuse him as he wants to use the bathroom. While in the bathroom, he tries proposing to her through a live radio call before it cuts off. She comes to meet him at the restroom and scolds him for proposing to her in one of Sweden's nastiest toilets. He then asks if she is happy or sad, and she tells him she is happy and accepts his proposal. One of his lecturers comes out of the bathroom and congratulates him. 1.5 years later, David is shown playing a video game, and Nadia bangs the washing machine's lid lock. She nags over it being faulty as David was yet to fix it. She calls for his help as she wants to study and fulfill her dreams of becoming a doctor and not a full housewife. David tells her he is sorry as he is always busy and offers to do it, but she tells him it is too late and continues nagging as he leaves. Nadia then sits at the general building laundry and watches as the clothes spin in the machine. Thomas, a next-door neighbor, comes into the laundry. As he drops his clothes, Nadia vomits in the basin. He asks what is wrong, and she reveals to him that she is pregnant. Thomas is happy hearing it, and she tells him that he should not tell David anything as she does not think they are fit to be parents. He asks why, and she tells him that David is always too busy, and if they end up having kids, she would be the one taking care of everything, and she does not want to be a full housewife. Thomas then sits by her side and tells her that having a child is life's biggest experience and, at the same time, it is the most fragile one. He tells her that he feels two of them would be amazing parents, and she hugs him and thanks him for being nice. The next day, David surprises Nadia by dropping a written note on her bedside, and as she walks through the house, she sees that he has fixed the washing machine. She then follows each written text he wrote and goes to meet him outside. Upon seeing her, he comes down from his car and apologizes to her as he hands her an envelope. As she looks at the envelope, he tells her he would like them to spend some time together at Bear Valley. She asks about his work, and he tells her that he said to them that he is sick, and he is eager to go because she means more to him than his work. On their way, Nadia comes out of the vehicle and vomits. David asks if she is okay, and she tells him yes. They get to a filling station, and David takes Boris, their dog, with him to get something. Two brothers, Jarmo and Raul, arrive with a truck, and as David comes, Raul plays with Boris and compliments Nadia's beauty. As David is about to leave, Boris leads him to the brothers' car, and he sees blood on the floor and a dead reindeer head. While leaving the station, David mistakenly jams the brothers' truck and quickly goes without informing them. They finally reach their destination and meet a woman named Mona, who refuses to respond to them and leaves their midst. A man called Einar comes to meet them and apologizes on her behalf, as she does not respond to strangers. He then asks what they need, and David tells him about their reservation. While Einar was talking, David saw Jarmo and Raul, but tried to avoid making eye contact with them. Einar gives them their room keys and a map, and offers to host them at his cabin if they get tired of hiking. The following day, they saw that their car was scratched, and their bumper had a racial insult written on it. While driving, Nadia tells David to stop the vehicle at the station as she spots the brothers' truck, and she uses a screwdriver to scratch it. Raul comes out with his dog and notices her, but she dashes into her car as his dog chases her away, and David drives away. They finally get to the Bear Valley, and after hiking for a while, they camp beneath the northern lights, and Nadia reveals to him that she is pregnant. He asks if she is sure, and she tells him she took 5 tests. David is happy hearing this, and as he is talking, Nadia notices a red dot laser, and she calls his attention to it. Nadia thinks it could be some kids playing on them and wears her shoe to check who it is. As they come out of their tent, they still see the red dot laser pointing at them, and they return to their tent to get dressed up. The red dot laser keeps pointing at them in the tent, and Boris runs while barking in the direction from which the laser was coming. They hear a gunshot afterward, and this scares them. They get shot at their tent, making them start running away. While running, they see a flare burning above them, and they are shocked by this and keep on running. They ran to a nearby bush side and hid there as they heard some vehicle revving, and Nadia could hear Boris, but David stopped her from leaving. The next day, they return to their tent to get their car keys, and as David enters the tent, Nadia waits behind. He suddenly comes out coughing, and Nadia goes to meet him. As she enters the tent, she sees Boris' head cut off and placed in the tent. She comes out angry and says she will kill the brothers, as she believes they are behind everything that happened. David tries to calm her down and goes to the tent to get the keys. As he removes Boris' head and tries to check the keys beneath the cloth, his arm gets caught in a hunting trap, and Nadia comes to help him out. They leave the campsite, and as they walk, they see someone far away, and someone else shoots in their direction. They both quickly get down and start crawling, and as they get up to run, David gets shot and falls, but Nadia is unaware and keeps on running. David hallucinates and sees a young boy from afar staring at him, and he gets up to continue running. Nadia notices David is not with her, and she calls out his name. She sees the ice is about to break, and she lies down to avoid breaking the ice and falling into the water. She overhears David calling her name and warns him to be careful of the ice. Nadia finally sees David and helps him escape the water he fell into. After walking all through till night, they finally see an emergency cabin and enter it. Nadia calls the emergency line for help and then helps David clean up his wound. As David rests, Nadia sees a stethoscope and uses it to check if her baby is still breathing. She is happy to hear the sound as David also asks to hear it, and they are both happy. The next morning, they hear a vehicle sound, and when they check by the window, they are surprised to see that the mountain rescuer is Raul's brother Jarmo, and they quickly escape from the cabin through the back window to avoid him seeing them. Jarmo looks for them and goes out to check for them. As they keep on running, Nadia sees a hideout, and they both go there only to discover it is a sleeping bear den. Nadia tries to run away, but David stops her. Jarmo finally sees them, and before he can try shooting at them, Nadia shoots him with a flare gun she took from the cabin. They both run away, and as David walks, he hallucinates and hears noises. He falls down, and Nadia quickly goes to him. He tells her he keeps seeing the boy in his head and should have listened to her. She tries to calm him down, brings out the map, and tells him to stay strong as the bartender's house is not far from where they are. While they are walking, David sees the young boy again, and he breaks down and tells Nadia he keeps seeing him and that they do not deserve to be parents. Nadia tells him to stay strong and that they will do the right thing by going to the police as soon as they get away from there. David cannot walk any further, and Nadia decides to look for help. She runs into Raul, who asks what happened to her, but David arrives from behind and smashes his head with a rock. They then drive away to Einar's cabin. They get into the cabin, and Nadia sees Einar and tells him to call for help. She overhears him calling someone else, and she asks what he is doing, and he responds by saying help would be around any time. Nadia goes to hold David and tells him they need to leave, but Einar takes a knife and tells them that they are not going anywhere. They enter a room and lock the door. David sees something and calls Nadia's attention to it. They see different pictures of themselves hanging on the wall, and David sees a picture frame of a young boy. Thomas enters the room and talks about his son's eyes so full of life, and how he cannot stop thinking about what he would look like now. He then begins to weep and says he is just lying in his coffin underground, and wonders where he has gone. Thomas then asks Nadia to tell him what she did, and the truth about everything that happened is revealed. After accepting David's proposal, David was driving, and Nadia tried to fool around, and when he tried to stop, she told him to keep driving as it was sexy. They are both caught up in the romance, and David is unaware of a little boy on the road and he hits him with his car. Nadia goes to check on him and feels his pulse, only to find out that he is already dead. She tells David about it, and he drives off the scene. Nadia tells him they have to call the police, but he tells her there is no need and they should drive a bit first to think about what to do and come back later. The next scene shows Nadia trying to call the police, and David stops her. Thomas then says that he cannot believe how they were able to move on as if nothing happened. The next scene then shows when Thomas was playing with a drone with his son, and as the drone went far away, his son followed it and got to the road where he was hit. But fortunately for Thomas, the drone captured the car license plate, and he has been able to keep track of David and Nadia since then. The police tried to ask if he had any information, but he said no and planned everything, starting from moving to their neighborhood and giving David the envelope to Bear Valley. After all these revelations, Thomas orders them to sit down, and he points his rifle at David. They plead for forgiveness, and Nadia tries to talk to him against shooting David, and he knocks her out. The next scene shows Nadia regaining her consciousness, and Thomas calls Einar to ask if he has been able to get through to his sister. Einar tells him she has not been picking up, and he leaves. David and Nadia both beg for forgiveness, but Thomas falls on deaf ears and tells David to use a power drill to drill Nadia's stomach, but he does not comply, and Thomas shoots him in the leg. Thomas then tells him that if he does not do it, he will shoot Nadia, and she and his unborn child will die. As David tries to do it, he stops suddenly and says he cannot do it. Thomas then decides to kill Nadia, but he is interrupted by Jarmo, who comes into the room and asks what was going on. Thomas shoots Jarmo, who also accidentally shoots Einar. While Thomas tries stopping Jarmo from shooting him, David unties Nadia, and they both run away. While running, Nadia stumbles on Raul, who is still unconscious, and Thomas also comes out and meets David. He asks of Nadia whereabout, but he responds by saying it was not her fault. He points his rifle at him, and Nadia appears, pointing a rifle at him. However, she is scared of pulling the trigger, and as Thomas laughs, and Nadia gets shot in the head. It turns out to be Mona, Thomas' wife and Einar's sister. David weeps on seeing her die and tells Mona to kill him, but Thomas tells her it was enough. He goes to meet him and tells him he would survive, as he would now feel how he felt all along. The movie ends with David crying, and Nadia's dead face is shown. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.